Stop. Before you reach for that box of hair color this week, I need you to stay with me for just a few minutes. Because there is a very good chance that the color you have been putting on your hair, the one you have trusted for years, maybe decades, is quietly doing something you never intended. Not because you made a bad choice. Because nobody ever sat down with you and told you the truth about what hair color actually does to hair after 60. Not the box. Not the salon. Nobody. And that changes today. In the next few minutes, I am going to walk you through 6 color mistakes that are aging the hair and the face of almost every woman over 60 who makes them. And the number 1 mistake on this list, the one I am saving for the very end, is the one that makes the biggest visible difference in how young or how tired a woman looks. Not just her hair. Her entire face. Stay with me all the way to the end, because that last one is the one worth waiting for. Before we count down, I want to say something clearly. Every mistake on this list has a fix. A real fix. One that does not require an expensive colorist, or a complicated process, or a product you cannot afford. These are simple shifts in how you think about color and how you apply it. They work with the hair you have right now. And they cost far less than continuing to make the same mistake month after month without knowing it. If that sounds like you, and I suspect it does because you would not be here if some part of this were not already familiar, you are in exactly the right place. And I want you to know before we start that everything on this list is fixable. Not someday. Starting with your very next color application. Let us count down. Mistake number 6. Applying color root to tip every time, and this one is going to surprise you because it involves something almost every woman does the moment she opens a box of home color. Or sits down in a salon chair. Or lets a friend help her touch up her roots. And it is the reason so many women over 60 end up with hair that looks dry, dull, damaged, and somehow older than it was before the color went on. Mistake number 6 is applying color from root to tip every single time you color. I want you to think about how you color your hair right now. You mix the formula, you work it through from the roots, and you coat the entire length of the hair from scalp to ends. Every time. Whether you are covering roots or doing a full refresh. It seems logical. You want the color to be even. You want everything to match. But here is what is actually happening beneath the surface, and this is the part nobody explains clearly enough. The roots that are growing in are virgin hair. They have not been colored before. They need the full processing time and the full strength of the formula to pick up color properly. But the mid-lengths and ends of your hair have already been colored. Some of them many times. They are already processed. They already hold color. And every time you apply fresh color on top of them again and again, you are overprocessing hair that did not need processing at all. You are depositing color on top of color on top of color. And what that does over months and years is damage the structure of the strand from the inside out. The hair loses its ability to reflect light. It looks flat and dull even right after coloring. The ends feel rougher. They look drier. And the color, paradoxically, fades faster on processed ends than it would on healthy hair because damaged hair cannot hold onto pigment the way healthy hair does. The fix is straightforward and it saves both time and money. When you are only covering new growth at the roots, apply color to the roots only. Let it process there. Then in the final 5 to 10 minutes of processing time, comb it gently through to the ends just to refresh the tone. Not the full processing time. Not the full strength of a fresh application. Just a brief pass to keep things blended. Your ends will thank you, your color will last longer, and your hair will look noticeably healthier and shinier within just a few weeks of making this change. And if that one just made you rethink the last several color sessions, stay with me because mistake number 5 is one that sneaks up over time. It does not announce itself. It does not look like damage on day 1 or month 1. It builds slowly and quietly, session after session, until one day you look at your hair and something feels fundamentally wrong with how it looks and feels, and you cannot quite trace it back to a specific moment. That is almost always mistake number 5 at work. And by the time most women notice the damage, they have been making it for years without realizing there was a different way. Mistake number 5. Coloring on a rigid schedule. Stop coloring your hair on the same rigid schedule every single month, regardless of what your hair actually needs. This one is about timing. And timing in hair color matters more than almost anything else on this list. Most women set a calendar reminder. Every 4 weeks. Every 6 weeks. Whatever their routine is. And they stick to it whether their roots need attention or not. Whether their hair is in good condition or not. Whether the ends are showing signs of stress or not. The schedule runs the hair. And the hair pays for it. Here is what rigidly scheduled coloring does over time. If your hair grows slowly, your roots may only need attention every 8 or 10 weeks. But you are coloring every 4. Which means you are processing hair that does not need to be processed. Adding chemical stress to a strand that was just fine. And if your hair is already fine in texture, which is almost universal for women over 60, that repeated unnecessary processing accumulates into real, visible damage very quickly. Split ends appear earlier. The hair loses elasticity. It stops bouncing and starts drooping. And no color in the world can make drooping, overprocessed hair look young, because shape and movement are what read as youthful, not color alone. The fix is to let your hair tell you when it is time. Not the calendar. Look at your roots honestly. If there is less than half an inch of new growth, you do not need a full color application. If the ends feel brittle or rough when you run your fingers through them, that is your hair telling you it needs a break from processing and some conditioning attention instead. Give it what it needs. Not what the schedule says. Your hair is not a lawn that needs mowing on a fixed schedule. It is a living material that communicates its needs clearly once you start listening for them. Now, the number 1 mistake is still waiting for you at the end of this countdown. But first, mistake number 4 is the one that I see more clearly than almost anything else in photographs and videos of women over 60. It is a color choice that feels safe and classic, but actually does something quite specific to the face. Something that the color alone is responsible for. And once you see it, you cannot unsee it. Mistake number 4. Choosing a hair color that is too dark. Dark hair feels like the safe, reliable choice. It feels classic. It feels put together. It feels like the version of yourself you have always known. And at 30, 40, even 50, deep brunette and very dark brown tones can look striking and sophisticated. But after 60, something shifts in a way that is entirely about physics rather than preference. This is not about whether dark hair is beautiful. It is. This is about how light interacts with the face and the hair together, and what that interaction does to the way the whole face reads in real life, in photographs, and in the mirror. The rules of light change as the face changes. And the color choices that served you beautifully for decades can start working against you without your realizing it. Here is the visual reality. As the face naturally softens and loses some of its pigmentation with age, very dark hair creates what stylists call a harsh frame. The contrast between very dark hair and the skin, which has become lighter and softer over the years, becomes extreme. An extreme contrast in a frame draws attention to every line, every shadow, every softening in the face beneath it. The hair is so dark that the face looks lighter and more fragile by comparison. And the overall impression is not one of drama or sophistication. It is one of age. The darkness of the hair emphasizes everything the face has changed rather than framing what has stayed beautiful. There is also a light reflection issue. Very dark hair absorbs light rather than reflecting it. Hair that absorbs light looks flat, heavy, and dense. On a younger woman with a face that has high contrast and strong bone structure, this can look powerful. On a woman over 60 whose face reads with softer contrasts and more delicate features, flat dark hair presses down on those features instead of lifting them. The fix is not to go suddenly blonde or to make a dramatic change. It is simply to move your color 2 shades lighter than what you currently wear. 2 shades. Not a transformation. Just enough to let light bounce off the hair instead of being absorbed by it. Enough to soften the contrast between hair and skin rather than intensifying it. A rich medium brown instead of near black. A warm dark blonde instead of deep brunette. That 2-shade shift is enough to change the way the entire face reads in photographs and in person. And it is enough to make the color look expensive rather than heavy. And if you have been in dark hair for years and the idea of going lighter feels like a loss, I hear that. I am not asking you to change who you are. I am asking you to consider that the version of dark hair you fell in love with decades ago worked partly because of what your face looked like then. And your face is doing something different now. Something worth working with. Stay with me for mistake number 3, because it will change the way you think about light hair on women over 60 entirely. And it might just give you a direction you have not considered before. Mistake number 3. Going so light, or so platinum, that the hair loses all depth and warmth. This is the opposite error from mistake number 4. And it is just as common. Women who decide to go lighter after 60 often go too far in the other direction. They see the appeal of silver, of very light blonde, of platinum. These tones feel modern and they feel like a solution to the dark hair problem. And sometimes they are beautiful. But very often, all over light color without any depth or dimension underneath creates its own set of problems for the face. All over very light hair, especially platinum or ash blonde with no warm undertones at all, can wash out the complexion in a way that actually ages the face more than dark hair does. When the hair has no color depth at all, when it is uniformly light from root to tip with no variation, it creates no contrast anywhere around the face. The eye has nothing to land on. The face and the hair blur into each other. And skin that might look warm and alive against a richer hair tone looks pale and flat against platinum or ash. The deeper issue is this. All over flat color, whether very dark or very light, removes dimension from the hair. Dimension is what makes hair look alive, full, and 3-dimensional. It is what makes it catch the light differently when you move. When hair has dimension, even thin hair looks full. When hair has no dimension, even full hair looks flat. And all over color, applied the same way from root to tip in one uniform tone, destroys dimension every single time. The fix is not to avoid light hair. It is to ensure that light hair has depth built into it. Ask for a shadow root, a slightly deeper tone kept close to the scalp that gradually transitions to lighter mid-lengths and ends. Or ask for a technique where different tones are woven through the hair rather than applied uniformly. The goal is not one flat shade. The goal is light and dark working together to create the illusion of thickness, movement, and life. That is what makes hair look like hair rather than a wig. We are halfway through the countdown and the number 1 mistake is still ahead. I want you to stay with me because the one waiting at the end of this list is not just the most important thing on today's countdown. It is the most important thing I know about hair color for women over 60. And I have been saving it specifically for last because it will mean more to you once you understand the 5 that came before it. But first, mistake number 2 is the one that quietly changes how the entire face reads on camera, in photographs, and in mirrors. And most women are completely unaware that their hair color is doing this to them every single day. Mistake number 2. Wrong undertone for your skin. Wearing a hair color with the wrong undertone for your skin. This is where hair color gets technical in a way that matters enormously. Because color is not just about hue. It is about temperature. Every hair color has an undertone. Warm undertones are the golds, the coppers, the reds, the bronzes. Cool undertones are the ash tones, the platinum tones, the blue-based brunettes. And the undertone of your hair color interacts with the undertone of your skin in one of two ways. Either it harmonizes with your skin and makes it look warm, healthy, and alive. Or it fights your skin tone and makes it look tired, yellowed, sallow, or washed out. The most common version of this mistake on women over 60 involves undertones that are too warm in the wrong way. A golden yellow or a brassy copper tone in the hair creates a reflection against the skin that pulls out yellow undertones in the complexion. On skin that already carries some yellow or warm undertones, this reflection amplifies them into territory that reads as sallow or tired rather than golden or warm. The face starts to look jaundiced under certain lighting, particularly harsh overhead lighting, which is exactly the lighting you encounter most often in real life. The reverse version is equally common. Ash tones that are too cool, too grey, too flat against skin that has warm or neutral undertones drain the face of color entirely. The face looks pale, flat, unwell. The hair looks beautiful in theory, but the overall picture reads as someone who does not look well rather than someone who looks elegantly silver. And this is a particularly painful mistake because the intention behind it is usually good. The woman who chose the ash tone was trying to look modern, cool-toned, and effortlessly silver. But the skin underneath needed warmth to look alive. And the ash pulled the last of that warmth away rather than letting it breathe. The result is a woman who looks washed out standing right next to a color she genuinely believed would make her look younger. The fix requires only one thing: knowing whether your skin has warm, cool, or neutral undertones. If you have warm undertones in your skin, honey-based, golden-based, and caramel-based tones in the hair will harmonize with your face. If you have cool undertones, ash-based, platinum-based, and cool silver tones will work with your face rather than against it. If you have neutral undertones, you have the widest range available to you. Getting this right does not cost anything. It requires only an honest look at the inside of your wrist in natural light, and a basic understanding of which direction your skin leans. And once you get it right, the difference in photographs is immediate and unmistakable. Now, we have come through 5 mistakes. And the number one is the one I promised at the very start would change the way you see hair color entirely. Not just your hair. The way the entire face reads to everyone who looks at you. This is the most important single thing I can tell you about color after 60. So I need your full attention for just a few more minutes. Mistake number 1. Not choosing color for your skin's luminosity. Choosing your hair color without considering how it interacts with the natural undertone of your own skin. Wait. I know what you are thinking. You are sitting there saying, did she not just cover this in mistake number 2? Warm undertones, cool undertones, pick the right one. Yes. That was mistake number 2. But what I am about to tell you is not the same thing. It goes deeper. It is more specific. And it is the reason 2 women can choose the exact same hair color, the same formula, the same undertone direction, and one of them looks 10 years younger afterward and the other one looks exactly the same as before, or worse. The difference lives in one place. And understanding it is the reason I saved this for last. Mistake number 2 was about undertone harmony in a general sense. Warm or cool? This is deeper than that. This is about the specific, individual relationship between your particular shade of skin and your particular shade of hair. And what that relationship does to the face in terms of luminosity. Specifically, the way the right hair color can make the skin appear to glow from within. And the way the wrong hair color makes the skin appear flat and dimensionless. Even on the exact same woman, with the exact same face, on the exact same day. Here is the principle that almost nobody explains clearly. Skin after 60 has lost some of the luminosity it had in younger decades. Not dramatically. Not completely. But the natural radiance that skin produces from within is quieter than it was. And hair color is one of the only tools available to us that can actually compensate for that quietness. Not by covering it up, but by creating a reflection around the face that mimics the glow that was always there. The right hair color for your skin tone acts like a filter placed gently around the face. It reflects warm or cool light back onto the skin depending on what the skin needs. And that reflected light is what creates the appearance of glow, of health, of vitality that we associate with looking younger. This is not a trick. This is physics. Light reflected from the hair bounces onto the face and fills in the subtle shadows that come with age. The right color makes those shadows disappear. The wrong color deepens them. So here is how to find the right color for your specific skin tone without spending $1. Gather a few pieces of clothing in different tones and hold them up to your face in natural light near a window. Something warm and golden. Something cool and silvery. Something rich and deep. Something soft and pale. Watch what happens to your skin as you hold each one near your face. The fabric that makes your skin look most alive, most present, most like a better version of itself, is telling you what direction your hair color should go. The fabric that makes you look tired or washed out is telling you what to avoid. Your hair frames your face the same way fabric does. The principle is identical. The result is just permanent rather than something you take off at the end of the day. Once you know which direction your skin responds to best, you have the single most important piece of information you need to choose a hair color that takes years off your face. Not just something that covers gray. Not just something that matches what you used to be. Something that makes your face look better today than it did before the color went on. That is the only measure that matters. And it has nothing to do with trend. Nothing to do with age. Nothing to do with what someone else thinks looks good on a woman over 60. It has to do with your skin, your face, your unique relationship with light. And that is entirely within your reach to understand and to get right. Now, before we close, I want to leave you with one thought that ties all 6 of these mistakes together. Because when you look at this list as a whole, when you step back from the individual details of undertone and processing time and shade selection, there is something underneath all of them that is exactly the same. One single thing that every mistake on this list has in common. And understanding it changes the way you will approach every color decision you make from this point forward. Every mistake on this list is about hair color that fights the face instead of working with it. Too dark fights the face. Too light with no warmth fights the face. Wrong undertone fights the face. Applying color on top of color fights the health of the hair itself. And hair that has been fighting its own structure for years cannot reflect light the way healthy hair does. Which means it cannot do its most important job. Which is to frame the face in a way that makes you look like the most alive, most present, most fully yourself version of who you actually are. You do not need to spend a lot of money to get this right. You do not need a colorist who charges more than your grocery bill for the week. You do not need a new product line or a consultation at a department store beauty counter. You need this information, which you now have. And you need the small adjustments I described today, most of which cost nothing at all, none of which require any special skill or training, and a few of which will actually save you money compared to what you are currently spending on color that is working against you instead of for you. This is the kind of knowledge that changes the way you shop, the way you color, and the way you see yourself in photographs for the rest of your life. And you got it today for free. So here is what I want from you before you close this video. Pick one. One mistake from this list that you recognized in yourself. One thing you are going to change before the next time you color your hair. Not all 6 at once. Just one. And then come back here and tell me in the comments which one you picked and what happened when you made that change. I read every single comment on this channel. Every one. If today helped you, share it with one woman in your life who could use it. You do not need to explain why. Just send it. She will understand. And if you are not yet subscribed, do it now. Because next week, I am going over the 5 hairstyle shapes that quietly make the face look 10 years older on women over 60, and what to ask for instead. You will not want to miss that one. You are not fading. You are not finished. You are simply getting more specific about what works for you. And there is nothing more elegant than a woman who has stopped doing things out of habit and started doing them out of knowledge. That is what today was. 6 habits replaced by 6 pieces of knowledge. 6 salon bills potentially cut. 6 mistakes replaced by 6 simple changes that cost nothing, require nothing you do not already have, and start working the very next time you color your hair. That is a good day. Tell me below, which of these 6 mistakes did you recognize the most in yourself? I will read every single one of them.